My name is Lauren Winters, and I'm 32 years old. 20 months ago, my father stood in front of 35 people at an upscale Nashville restaurant and called me his burden. Not quietly, not privately. He said it into a microphone while toasting my sister Caroline, the real doctor, the cardiologist, the one carrying on his legacy. I was the insurance agent who sold fear for a living, the daughter who dropped out of pre-med, the one he refused to help because quitters don't deserve it. I left that restaurant, and I didn't just leave the party. I left Nashville. I blocked his number. I disappeared. 20 months later, I walked onto a stage in front of 180 financial professionals at a conference in the same city where he destroyed me. But this time, I wasn't his burden. I was a certified financial planner managing $18.5 million in client assets, and he was sitting in the audience, row 12. This is what happened when I stopped trying to prove myself to him and started proving myself to me. I arrived at the Southern Steak and Oyster at 7:15 p.m. on a Tuesday in November, 15 minutes early like I always am. The restaurant sat on 153rd Avenue South in downtown Nashville, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, the kind of place where the prix-fixe menu runs $95 per person, and the wine list has its own sommelier. I should have turned around the moment I saw the banner. "Congratulations, Dr. Caroline Winters, cardiology fellow." The hostess smiled at me. "Are you with the Winters party?" "Unfortunately, yes," I said. She led me upstairs to the private dining room, capacity 40 people. I counted 35 guests as they trickled in. My father's doctor friends, their wives in cocktail dresses, a few lawyers, Caroline's colleagues from Vanderbilt Medical Center. The kind of crowd that measures success in credentials and salaries. I should have left then, but I wanted to believe maybe tonight would be different. My father, Gerald Winters, 65 years old and recently retired from a cardiology practice that earned him $220,000 a year in pension alone, stood near the bar introducing Caroline to anyone who would listen. She'd just been accepted into a cardiology fellowship at Vanderbilt. 8 years of medical training finally paying off with an $85,000 fellowship salary. Following in Dad's footsteps. The golden child. I sat at the far end of the long table, chair 14 of 16, squeezed between a stranger, my father's business partner's wife, and the wall. Close enough to the kitchen door to smell the seared beef, far enough from the action to be invisible. A woman across from me leaned in. "So what do you do, Lauren?" "I'm a financial advisor," I said. Her smile tightened. "Oh, like insurance?" The dismissive tone landed exactly where she intended. I nodded and reached for my water glass. Then the waiter brought champagne. Veuve Clicquot, $180 a bottle. I knew what was coming. At 7:43 p.m., my father stood and tapped his champagne flute with a knife. The room quieted. 35 pairs of eyes turned toward him. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight to celebrate my daughter Caroline," he began. His voice carried the practiced authority of someone used to commanding operating rooms. 8 years ago, she started at Johns Hopkins as an undergrad, then Vanderbilt Medical School, and now a cardiology fellowship. 8 years of dedication, 8 years of discipline. Caroline has made me the proudest father in Tennessee. People applauded. Caroline smiled, gracious and humble in her navy sheath dress. My father raised his glass higher. "Caroline is now Dr. Caroline Winters, following in my footsteps, carrying on the legacy." The room toasted. I lifted my glass automatically, the champagne already going flat on my tongue. Then he looked at me, and I knew. "Lauren's been my burden for a decade," he said. The room froze. He kept going. "Selling insurance policies to pay rent. That's not ambition, that's settling. But Caroline, she's carrying on my legacy in cardiology. I toast the daughter who became a real doctor." He paused. The silence stretched like a wound. "The other one, she just sells fear for a living." My hands started shaking. Champagne spilled onto the white tablecloth, spreading like a stain I couldn't stop. 4 people laughed nervously. Caroline looked down at her plate. She didn't say a word, didn't defend me, didn't even glance my way. Someone on the other end of the table, one of Dad's golf buddies, clinked his glass. "To Caroline!" The room echoed it. "To Caroline!" Nobody looked at me. Nobody had to. The humiliation was complete. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood floor loud enough that a few heads turned. I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair, slung it over my shoulder, and walked toward the stairs. My heels clicked on each step. 12 steps down, I counted every one. The valet outside looked confused when I handed him my ticket. Number 23. "Ma'am, is everything okay? The dinner hasn't even been served yet. Do you need me to call someone?" "I'm fine," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "I just need my car." He brought my 2018 Honda Civic around, $380 a month, 62,000 miles, the car I'd been driving since I was 28. I tipped him $5 I couldn't afford and drove home. The route was 8.2 miles. I cried for 7 of them. When I pulled into my apartment parking lot, I sat there for an hour with the engine off. My phone sat in the cup holder, screen dark. 0 texts, 0 calls. Nobody noticed I left. My apartment was a 1-bedroom in East Nashville, $1,100 a month, not including utilities. I walked inside and saw the bills stacked on my kitchen counter exactly where I'd left them. Rent due November 1st. Car payment due November 5th, $380. Student loan due November 10th, $290. Credit card minimum payment, $150. I opened my laptop and pulled up the email from my father that had arrived 1 week earlier. Subject line: Financial Planning Course. The message was 3 sentences long. "Lauren, I'm not funding another one of your career pivots. You made your choice with insurance sales. Live with it. Dad." I'd asked him to loan me $9,000 for a certified financial planner prep course. He'd refused. The week before, he'd given Caroline $22,000 to help with her relocation expenses for the fellowship. My bank statement was still open in another tab. Savings account balance, $1,850. That was everything I had. I opened a new email. Subject line: Letter of Resignation. My cursor blinked in the empty body of the message. Then I stopped. And I got angry. I didn't write a resignation letter. I wrote a plan. At 11:45 p.m., sitting at my kitchen table with cold coffee and a yellow legal pad, I Googled Edward Jones offices, Tennessee. I filtered by city, anywhere but Nashville. Knoxville showed 4 listings. The closest was on Kingston Pike. I Googled cost of living Knoxville versus Nashville. Rent, $400 cheaper per month. Gas, 10 cents less per gallon. Groceries, roughly the same. I opened a calculator. If I transferred to Knoxville, I could save $400 a month on rent alone. That was $4,800 a year. Enough to fund the CFP program myself. Enough to get out from under his thumb. I said it out loud to my empty apartment. "You want me gone? Fine. But when I come back, if I come back, you're going to see exactly what you threw away." I didn't cry. I planned. By 2 a.m. I had a new city, a new Edward Jones office pulled up on my screen, and a one-way ticket out of the life my father had decided I deserved. I built a spreadsheet because numbers don't lie the way people do. Income column, $3,200 per month after taxes. That was my $39,000 base salary, plus an average of $9,000 in annual commissions, split across 12 months. Some months I made more. Most months I made less. Expenses in Nashville, $2,890. Rent, car, loans, groceries, utilities, gas, insurance. I was living paycheck to paycheck with a $310 margin for error. 1 bad month and I'd be in my overdraft. Expenses in Knoxville, projected $2,490. That $400 difference was everything. I talked to myself while I typed. If I stay here, I'm paying $1,100 a month to live near people who don't want me. Knoxville rent, $700. That's $400 a month I can put toward the CFP. The math was clear. Staying in Nashville was financial suicide, leaving was survival. But here's what I didn't expect. Knoxville was about to become my advantage. Friday morning, November 3rd, 9:30 a.m. I called the Edward Jones regional recruiter from my car during my lunch break. Her name was Jessica Morgan. I'm currently with an Edward Jones office in Nashville, I said. I'm Series 7 and 66 licensed. I'm looking to transfer to the Knoxville market. What's available? There was a pause. Then, Knoxville's a growth market for us. Underserved, hungry for advisors. If you're fully licensed, I can fast-track you. When can you start? 2 weeks, I said. Perfect. Base salary is $36,000. I know that's lower than Nashville, but cost of living offsets it. And honestly, Lauren, Knoxville has potential, less competition. You could build faster there than you ever would in Nashville. I wrote down the office address, 523 Kingston Pike, Suite 201. I'll take it, I said. I hung up. I had 2 weeks to disappear from my entire life. Saturday, I drove to Knoxville. 180 miles. 2 hours and 50 minutes door to door. I had 3 studio apartments lined up to view, all found on Zillow the night before. The third one was on Forest Avenue, 842 Forest Avenue, Studio 3B. 480 square feet, 1 window facing east, a parking spot included. The landlord was a woman in her 60s who met me in the lobby. "You're from Nashville?" she asked, glancing at my license. "What brings you to Knoxville?" "A fresh start," I said. She smiled. $695 a month. First month and security deposit up front. $1,390 total. Lease is 12 months. Utilities average about $85 a month. You interested? I looked around the studio. It was smaller than my Nashville apartment. The carpet was older. The appliances were basic. But it was 2.3 miles from the Edward Jones office, and it was $405 cheaper per month. I signed the lease in the building's parking lot at 3:15 p.m. No second thoughts. No looking back. Sunday, November 5th, 3:22 p.m. I sent my mother a text message. "Mom, I'm moving to Knoxville for work. I need space from Dad and Caroline. Please don't share my address or phone number with them. I love you, but I need to do this." She responded 23 minutes later. "Honey, I saw what happened at the dinner. I'm so sorry. I should have said something. Please stay in touch. I love you." I read it twice. Then I opened my contacts. At 4:10 p.m., I blocked my father's number. At 4:12 p.m., I blocked Caroline. 2 names deleted. 20 years of trying to earn approval, gone in 4 seconds. I didn't feel relieved. I felt empty. But emptiness was better than humiliation. I rented a 10-foot U-Haul on Wednesday for $189. Gas cost another $65 for the round trip. I packed my entire apartment in 3 days, 23 boxes, my bed frame, a desk, a chair, 2 lamps. I sold my couch for $150 on Facebook Marketplace and my TV for $80. I needed the cash more than the furniture. The U-Haul employee watched me load boxes alone. "You need help with that?" "No," I said, lifting a box labeled kitchen into the truck. "I got it." I drove to Knoxville on Saturday, November 18th. The truck handled worse than I expected. Every lane change felt like I was steering a boat. I arrived at 842 Forest Avenue at 7:35 p.m. I unloaded everything myself, box by box, up 2 flights of stairs. My back ached. My hands had blisters. I slept on a mattress on the floor that night. No bed frame assembled, no sheets unpacked. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. I woke up at 6 a.m. to sunlight coming through the single window. The studio was quiet in a way Nashville never was. No traffic, no neighbors shouting, No reminders of who I used to be. I walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop called Old City Java on 109 South Central Street. The coffee was $3.25, $2 cheaper than the Starbucks I used to go to in Nashville. The barista had a nose ring and a genuine smile. "First time here?" she asked. "Yeah, just moved." "Welcome to Knoxville," she said, handing me my coffee. "You'll like it here. People are real." I walked 1.2 miles around the neighborhood that morning. It was 52 degrees and overcast. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew I'd failed pre-med. Nobody knew I was a disappointment. I could be anyone. Monday, November 20th, 8 a.m. I walked into the Edward Jones office on Kingston Pike wearing my only suit, navy, slightly wrinkled from the U-Haul. The branch leader's name was Bill Crawford. 58 years old, 28 years with Edward Jones, $85 million in assets under management. He shook my hand in the conference room. "Lauren, I looked at your numbers from Nashville. Decent, not great. Here's the deal. Knoxville rewards hustle, not pedigree. You willing to outwork everyone?" "Yes," I said. He slid 3 binders across the table. Series 7 review materials, prospecting scripts, compliance guidelines. "You start calling tomorrow," he said. "Target is 100 calls a day. You'll also door knock, 15 to 20 businesses daily. You'll get rejected a lot, you'll get hung up on, you'll want to quit, but if you stick with it, Knoxville will pay you back. I've seen 4 advisors under my mentorship promote to senior level. You could be the 5th. He handed me a printed phone list. 500 names. "Start at the top," he said. "Work your way down." I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the list and wondered what I'd gotten myself into. The first week in Knoxville, my phone stayed quiet. That was good. That was the point. But on Thursday, an email arrived from my father. Subject line, "Disappointed but not surprised." I opened it at 6:30 p.m. after my first full day of cold calling. "Lauren, your mother mentioned Knoxville. I'm not sure what you're trying to prove, but geography won't fix your lack of direction. When you're ready to face reality, you know where to find me." "Dad," I read it 3 times. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another one, deleted that too. Then I created an email filter. All messages from Gerald Winters to trash. He didn't deserve my words. He didn't deserve my anger. He didn't deserve anything. Day 3 of cold calling. Tuesday, November 28th. I sat at my desk in the Edward Jones office from 6:45 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. with a 20-minute lunch break. My goal, 100 calls. The script was simple. "Hi, this is Lauren Winters with Edward Jones. I'm a financial advisor in Knoxville, and I'd love to offer you a free portfolio review." Click. Most people hung up before I finished the second sentence. 80 hang-ups, 15 voicemails that would never be returned, 5 actual conversations, 0 appointments booked. By the end of the day, my call log showed 127 completed calls. My hand cramped from dialing. My throat was sore. My head pounded. Bill walked past my desk at 7 p.m. I was still there, reviewing my notes. "Still here?" he asked. I nodded. He smiled. "Good. That's how you build this." I didn't know it yet, but those words would carry me through the next 5 months. Day 8, Wednesday, November 30th. Call number 43 of the day. A woman answered. "Hello? Hi, this is Lauren Winters with Edward Jones. I'm a financial advisor in Knoxville, and I specialize in helping folks navigate retirement accounts. Do you have a few minutes?" There was a pause. Then, "Actually, yes. My husband passed away 6 months ago. He handled all the money. I have this IRA thing from his old job, and I don't know what to do with it. Can you help me?" My heart jumped. "Yes, ma'am. I promise I'll take care of you. Can we set up a time to meet?" Her name was Mrs. Dolores King, 71 years old, She lived on Paper Mill Drive, 15 minutes from my office. We scheduled an appointment for Friday at 2 p.m. I prepared for that meeting like it was the bar exam. 4 hours of research on IRA rollovers, tax implications, beneficiary updates, conservative investment strategies for widows. I made notes on a yellow legal pad, front and back, until my hand cramped again. Mrs. King was my entire world. Friday, 2 p.m. Mrs. King's house was a small brick ranch with a garden full of late-season mums. She invited me in and offered me tea. We sat at her kitchen table. She showed me the paperwork. A Fidelity IRA worth $38,455. Her husband's name was still listed as the beneficiary, even though he'd been gone since May. "I don't understand any of this," she said. Her hands shook as she held the papers. "My daughter lives in Atlanta. She's a nurse. She's busy. I don't want to bother her." I took the papers gently. "You're not bothering anyone. This is what I'm here for." We spent an hour and 20 minutes going through everything. I explained the rollover process, updated her beneficiary to her daughter, and set up a conservative allocation: 60% bonds, 30% equities, 10% cash. Safe, stable. What she needed. When she signed the paperwork, she looked at me. "You remind me of my daughter. She cares about people the way you do." I felt my eyes sting. "Thank you. That means everything." I sat in my car in her driveway afterward and cried. Not from sadness, from purpose. I'd helped someone, and nobody could take that away from me. By week 3, I had a routine. Wake up at 5:30 a.m., gym at 6, Planet Fitness, $15 a month, office by 6:45, cold call until 11 a.m., door knock businesses from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., appointments from 2 to 5 p.m. if I had any, administrative work until 7 p.m., drive home, meal prep dinner, rice, chicken, frozen vegetables, $6 a day, study series materials until 10 p.m., sleep 6 hours, repeat. I put a sticky note on my monitor. 100 calls, 15 doors. 1, yes, repeat. The door knocking was brutal. I targeted small businesses, insurance agents, CPAs, real estate brokers. I walked into their lobbies with my Edward Jones business cards and my best smile. "Hi, I'm Lauren Winters, a financial advisor with Edward Jones. I'd love to introduce myself and see if there's ever a time we could help your clients." Most of them were polite. Some weren't. One business owner, a man in his 50s with a scowl, cut me off mid-sentence. "We don't work with kids." I was 32 years old, not a kid. He shut the door in my face. I stood there for 5 seconds. Then I walked to the next door. In January, I scheduled my Series 7 exam to maintain my license. I'd passed it 3 years earlier, but it needed renewal. I studied at night, another 180 hours over 6 weeks. January 18th, 8 a.m. The testing center was on Maloney Road. The exam was 6 hours long, 250 questions. I finished at 2:15 p.m. Score: 81%. Passing was 72. 2 weeks later, I took the Series 66. 100 questions. I scored 88%. Bill pulled me aside after I got the results. "Most rookies scrape by at 72%. You're built different. What's driving you?" I looked at him. "I have something to prove." He didn't ask who I was proving it to. He didn't need to. April, end of month 5. I sat in Bill's office reviewing my numbers. 42 clients, revenue generated, $156,000. That was the firm's revenue, not my commission, but it was the number that mattered for tracking. My commission payout, $31,000 year to date. Client breakdown: 28 IRA rollovers averaging $37,000 each. 8 brokerage accounts averaging $52,000. 6 life insurance policies with an average annual premium of $1,200. My largest client was a $180,000 rollover, My smallest was an $8,000 Roth IRA. Bill leaned back in his chair. You're in the top 40% of rookies regionally. If you keep this pace, you'll hit senior advisor track in 18 months. That's rare, Lauren. I nodded. I didn't smile. I just wrote the number down. Top 40%. That night, I updated my resume. Not to leave, to remember where I started. By June, I'd saved $2,400. 6 months of cutting every corner, every dollar stretched. My client base had grown to 78. Revenue was up to $385,000 for the year. My commission? $67,000. I was making more money than I ever had in Nashville. But I wanted more than money. I wanted credentials. I wanted respect. I Googled Certified Financial Planner Programs Tennessee. The University of Tennessee offered an online program. FPSB registered, fully accredited. Tuition, $4,800 total. I couldn't afford it up front. But UT offered payment plans, $400 a month for 12 months. I enrolled on June 15th. Start date, July 5th. My father had refused to loan me $9,000 for a CFP course. I was funding a $4,800 program myself, $400 at a time. I didn't need him. I never did. To cover the $400 monthly CFP payment, I picked up weekend shifts at Target. 12 hours a week, $14.50 an hour. It added $696 a month after taxes. I worked the floor, restocking shelves, helping customers find kitchen appliances, cleaning up spills in aisle 7. My Edward Jones colleagues didn't know. My clients didn't know. I wore a red polo and a name tag that said Lauren, and I smiled when people asked where the toilet paper was. One Saturday in August, a woman stopped me. Do you go to the University of Tennessee? Online program, I said, scanning her cart. Financial planning. Good for you, she said. My daughter's in college too. It's not easy working and studying. I handed her the receipt. No, but it's worth it. She smiled and left. I restocked cleaning supplies for another 3 hours. The CFP program had 6 courses: financial planning process, insurance planning, investment planning, tax planning, retirement planning, estate planning. Each course was 8 weeks, exams at the end. I studied 15 to 20 hours a week, nights after work, Sundays after my Target shift. My studio apartment became a library, textbooks on the kitchen counter, flashcards on the bathroom mirror, practice questions on my phone during lunch breaks. By October, I'd completed 4 courses. My GPA, 3.9. The tax planning module nearly broke me. I sat at my kitchen table at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in late September, working through Section 1031 exchanges and qualified dividends. I was on my 4th cup of coffee. My eyes burned. I had to be at the office in 3 hours. But I kept going, because quitting wasn't an option anymore. In August, Mrs. Dolores King called me. Lauren, I told my friend Ruth about you. She just lost her husband too. Can she call you? Of course, I said. Ruth became client 49. She referred 2 more widows. By September, I had 12 clients who'd come through referrals. 68% of my client base was now referring someone. That's when I realized I wasn't just selling financial products, I was building trust. People don't refer strangers, they refer people who care. October 12th. A small business owner named Tom called me. He'd gotten my name from his CPA. I'm selling my company, he said. I've got a 401k with about $180,000 in it. I need to roll it over, but I don't know where to start. We met the next day. I walked him through his options: rollover IRA, Roth conversion strategies, tax implications. He signed with me on the spot. That night, I sat in my car in the Target parking lot before my shift started. I looked at the paperwork in my passenger seat. $180,000, the largest client I'd ever signed. I didn't call anyone to celebrate. There was no one to call. but I felt something shift. I wasn't a rookie anymore. December 31st. I ran my year-end numbers. 78 clients. Assets under management, $8.2 million. Revenue generated, $385,000. Commission earned, $67,000. I'd started the year with 0 clients in Knoxville. I'd worked 70-hour weeks. I'd door-knocked in the rain. I'd made cold calls until my voice gave out. And I'd built something. Bill called me into his office on January 2nd. "Lauren, I want you to know, you're in the top 25% regionally now. You've got momentum. Don't lose it." I nodded. "I won't." That night, I opened my CFP course portal. 2 courses left. Retirement planning and estate planning. 4 months until I could sit for the exam. I was halfway there. January through April. The coldest months in Knoxville and the hardest months of studying I'd ever done. I finished retirement planning in February. Pension calculations, Social Security optimization, required minimum distributions. I finished estate planning in March. Trusts, wills, gift tax exclusions. My final course exam was April 28th. I scored 92%. The next day, I registered for the CFP certification exam. Test date, July 12th. Location, Knoxville Testing Center on Maloney Road. Cost, $825. I had 10 weeks to prepare. The exam was 170 questions, 6 hours, split into 2 sessions. The national pass rate, 62%. I bought the CFP board review materials, another $400 I didn't have. I studied every night, every weekend. I quit my target shifts in May to focus. This was it. Everything I'd worked for came down to one test. July 12th. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., even though the exam didn't start until 8. I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. I drove to the testing center at 7:15 a.m. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, reviewing flashcards one last time. Estate tax exemption, $11.7 million. Standard deduction, $12,950 single. Roth IRA contribution limit, $6,000. At 7:55, I walked inside. The proctor checked my ID. "Good luck," she said. I sat down at computer station 7. The screen loaded. Question 1 appeared. I clicked through, one question at a time. Some were easy, some made me second-guess every answer. By hour 3, my brain felt like static. At 2:15 p.m., I finished. The screen went blank. "Your results will be emailed within 3 weeks." I walked out into the July heat and sat in my car. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, numb. 3 weeks. That's how long I had to wait to find out if I'd passed. August 3rd, 4:32 p.m. I was at my desk finishing up a client review when my phone buzzed. Email from CFP board. Subject, exam results, Lauren Winters. My hands shook. I opened it. "Congratulations! You have successfully passed the CFP certification examination." I screamed. Bill was in his office 20 feet away. He heard me and came running. "You did it?" I nodded, unable to speak. He grabbed my shoulders. "Lauren, do you know what this means? You're CFP registered certified. You're in the top 7% of financial advisors in the country." The rest of the office gathered around. 3 other advisors, 2 client service associates. Someone opened a bottle of sparkling cider they'd been saving. We toasted in paper cups. I went home that night and stared at the email for an hour. Then I updated my email signature. Lauren Winters, CFP. 3 letters. But they meant I'd done something my father said was impossible. The CFP designation changed everything. Within 2 weeks, 12 of my existing clients upgraded their services, moving from simple IRA rollovers to full financial planning engagements. My phone started ringing with referrals. "I heard you're a CFP now. Can we talk?" By September, my assets under management jumped from $8.2 million to $13.8 million. New clients were different too: business owners, dual income professionals, households earning $150,000 plus. The average account size went from $105,000 to $176,000. In October, I had my first $94,000 revenue month. My commission that month, $15,600. I bought a $12 bottle of wine, the first time I'd spent more than $8 on alcohol in 2 years. I sat in my studio apartment, alone, and drank it while watching the sunset through my single window. I didn't call anyone. I didn't post on social media. I just sat there and let myself feel proud. November 4th. I got an email from the Knoxville Rotary Club. "We'd love to have you speak at our weekly meeting about retirement planning mistakes. Interested?" I said yes. The meeting was the following Tuesday. 45 people, mostly business owners and retirees. I spoke for 20 minutes about required minimum distributions and Social Security timing. 3 people approached me afterward and became clients. Then, on November 18th, another email. This one from Knoxville Business First. "You've been nominated for our 40 Under 40 list recognizing young leaders across Knoxville. We'd like to feature you. Are you available for an interview?" I read it 3 times. Then I called Bill. "They want to interview me for 40 Under 40, I said. He laughed. "Of course they do. You've built $13.8 million in AUM in less than 2 years. You're CFP registered certified, and you're doing pro bono financial literacy workshops. You're exactly who they're looking for." The interview was November 22nd. The photographer came to the Edward Jones office. I wore my navy suit, the same one I'd worn to orientation, but it fit better now. I'd lost weight from the stress, then gained it back as muscle from the gym. The photo appeared in the August issue, full-page spread. Lauren Winters, CFP, Senior Financial Advisor, Edward Jones. Building financial security one client at a time. My phone exploded. 63 text messages from clients, colleagues, people I'd met networking, not one from my father or sister. Good. By December, 15 months after passing the CFP exam, I had 124 clients. Assets under management, $18.5 million. Year-to-date revenue, $720,000. My commission payout at the 16.4% grid, $118,000. I was making more money than my father ever gave Caroline, more than he said I'd ever be worth. Edward Jones promoted me to Senior Financial Advisor, top 15% in the Southeast region. I was invited to join the Leadership Development Program, a competitive cohort of 32 advisors selected for accelerated advancement. But the real moment came in September. September 10th. Email from Edward Jones Corporate. "Lauren, you've been nominated for the 2024 Goodnight Award, recognizing advisors who exemplify community service and client satisfaction. This is a national honor. Only 100 advisors are selected from over 19,000. Congratulations on the nomination." I sat back in my chair. The Goodnight Award. I'd heard about it during training. It was the highest non-financial recognition Edward Jones gave. I didn't win. I made the top 100, but not the final 25. But the nomination alone meant something. It meant I wasn't just good at this job, I was exceptional. Between June and October, I ran 6 financial literacy workshops through the Single Mothers Network of Knoxville. Free sessions, budgeting, debt payoff strategies, retirement basics. 89 women attended across all 6 sessions. One woman, a single mom named Jessica with 2 kids, came up to me after the 3rd workshop. "I paid off $2,400 in credit card debt using your snowball method. I didn't think it was possible." I handed her my card. "If you ever need help, call me, no charge." She teared up. "Thank you." That work didn't make me money, but it made me remember why I'd left insurance sales in the first place. I wanted to help people, not just sell them policies. October 2nd. Email from the Financial Planning Association of Tennessee. Lauren, we're hosting our annual conference November 14th to 15th in Nashville. We'd love to have you as a panelist for our session, Emerging Advisors, Building Million-Dollar Books of Business. You'd present alongside 3 other CFP professionals to an audience of financial planners. Interested? Nashville. My stomach dropped. I hadn't been back to Nashville since I left. 20 months of silence. 20 months of building a life, 2 hours away. But this was the FPA of Tennessee Annual Conference. 450 financial professionals. A panel on building practices. My name in the program book. I typed my response. Yes, I'd be honored. November 1st. 2 weeks until the conference. I booked a hotel room at the Hilton Nashville downtown, $189 a night for 2 nights. I bought a new suit, navy, tailored, $385. The first time I'd spent that much on clothing since moving to Knoxville. I rehearsed my presentation 17 times. 20 minutes on client acquisition strategies, retention tactics, and the importance of the CFP designation. I had slides, 18 of them, metrics, $0 to $18.5 million, AUM in 20 months, 124 clients, 98% retention rate versus the industry average of 85. On November 10th, I received the conference program book via email. I scrolled to page 47. There was my name. Lauren Winters, CFP, Senior Financial Advisor, Edward Jones, $18.5 million, AUM. And right below the attendee list, I saw it. Gerald Winters, guest of Michael Preston, Preston Wealth Advisors. My father was registered. Caroline's fiancé's father was a wealth management advisor in Nashville. Michael must have invited Gerald to network. My hands started shaking. I closed my laptop. Then I opened it again. I looked at my headshot in the program. I looked at my bio. I wasn't the same person who left Nashville 20 months ago. I wasn't running anymore. November 14th. I left Knoxville at 6:15 a.m., 180 miles west on I-40. The same drive I'd made in the U-Haul 20 months earlier, but this time in my Honda Civic, with a back seat full of presentation materials and a suitcase with my new suit. The drive took 2 hours and 43 minutes. I listened to a podcast about behavioral finance and didn't hear a word of it. By the time I pulled into the Hilton parking garage at 9 a.m., my hands were clammy. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, breathing. You're not here for him, I told myself. You're here because you earned this. I grabbed my bag and walked inside. The Nashville Convention Center was attached to the Hilton. I followed the signs to the FPA conference registration desk. A woman in her 40s with an iPad checked me in. Lauren Winters? Yes. She handed me a lanyard with my name badge and a tote bag full of vendor materials. Your panel is tomorrow, Ballroom C, 10:30 a.m. There's a speaker's lounge on the 3rd floor if you need anything. Welcome. I took the badge. My headshot was printed next to my name. Lauren Winters, CFP registered, panelist. I walked toward the escalator and nearly ran into someone. Lauren? I turned. It was Bill. He'd driven down from Knoxville to support me. You made it, he said, grinning. How are you feeling? Terrified, I admitted. He clapped me on the shoulder. Good. That means you care. You're going to crush it tomorrow. That night, I couldn't sleep. I ordered room service, a $28 salad I barely touched, and rehearsed my presentation 3 more times in front of the hotel mirror. At 11 p.m., I opened my phone. I scrolled through my contacts. My mother's name was still there. I hadn't blocked her. I typed a message. I'm in Nashville for a conference, speaking tomorrow. Just wanted you to know I'm okay. She responded 3 minutes later. I'm so proud of you, honey. I wish I could be there. I didn't respond. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling until I finally fell asleep at 1:30 a.m. November 15th. 7 a.m. I woke up to my alarm and immediately felt nauseous. I showered, dried my hair, put on the navy suit. I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked professional, confident, strong. I took the elevator down to the convention center at 9 a.m. The conference was already buzzing, 450 attendees in business casual, clutching coffee cups and program books. I checked the program one more time. Panel, Ballroom C. Start time, 10:30 a.m. Audience capacity, 180 seats. I walked to the ballroom and stood outside. Through the doors, I could see rows of chairs filling up. My heart pounded. A conference organizer approached me. "Lauren Winters?" "Yes." "Great, you're on in 30 minutes. We'll introduce all 4 panelists at once, then you'll each present for 20 minutes. Sound good?" I nodded. She smiled. "Relax, you're going to be great." At 10:15 a.m., I sat in the speaker's holding area with the other 3 panelists. 2 men in their 40s, 1 woman in her 50s, all of them CFP registered certified, all of them with practices larger than mine. One of the men leaned over. "First time speaking at FPA?" "Yes," I said. "You'll do fine. Just talk like you're talking to a client." At 10:28 a.m., the moderator waved us toward the stage entrance. "Let's go." I stood up. My legs felt shaky. I followed the others through the side door and onto the stage. The ballroom was full. 182 people. I counted the empty seats, too. I scanned the crowd as I sat down in my assigned chair. Row 12. Seats 8 and 9. My father. And Caroline. They were here. The moderator stepped to the podium. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Emerging Advisors, Building Million-Dollar Books of Business. Our panelists today represent some of the fastest-growing practices in Tennessee. Let me introduce them." She went down the line. Names, firms, credentials, AUM totals. Then she got to me. Lauren Winters is a senior financial advisor with Edward Jones in Knoxville. In just 20 months, Lauren has built a practice managing $18.5 million in client assets with a retention rate of 98%. She's a certified financial planner and a Goodnight Award nominee. Please welcome Lauren. Applause. I stood briefly and nodded, then sat back down. I didn't look at row 12. Not yet. My turn came at 10:47 a.m. I stood, walked to the podium, and pulled up my slide deck. Slide 1. Building from zero, client acquisition in underserved markets. I took a breath. Then I started. 20 months ago, I moved to Knoxville with 42 clients and $156,000 in revenue. I didn't have a book of business handed to me. I didn't inherit clients. I built everything from scratch through cold calling, door knocking, and referrals. Slide 2. A graph showing my AUM growth. 0 to $8.2 million in year 1. $8.2 million to $18.5 million in year 2. The key wasn't luck, it was consistency. 100 calls a day, 15 door knocks, every day, no exceptions. Slide 3. Retention strategies. But acquisition is only half the equation. Retention is where you build wealth, for yourself and your clients. My retention rate is 98% because I treat every client like they're my only client. I clicked to slide 4, a case study. Let me give you an example. I had a widow client come to me with a $38,000 IRA, small account. Most advisors would have passed. But I spent an hour and a half with her, explained every option, and updated her beneficiaries. 6 months later, she referred 3 friends. Those referrals brought in another $340,000 in AUM. The room was silent. People were taking notes. Slide 5. The CFP advantage. Getting my CFP changed my practice. Within 3 months of passing the exam, my AUM grew by $5.6 million. Why? Because clients trust credentials. They trust expertise. The CFP tells them you're serious. I looked up from my notes, and for the first time I let myself glance at row 12. My father's face was pale. Caroline sat next to him, staring at the screen. I kept going. I finished my presentation at 11:07 a.m. 20 minutes exactly. The moderator opened the floor to questions. A woman in the front row raised her hand. This is for Lauren. What's your educational background? MBA? Finance degree? I paused. This was it. Actually, I said, I was pre-med in college. A few people shifted in their seats. I left that path junior year. It was the best decision I ever made. The room stayed quiet. I found I could heal financial stress instead of physical illness. Different kind of care. Same mission. Reducing suffering. Applause started in the back. Then the middle. Then the front. 8 seconds of applause. The moderator smiled. I'll add, Lauren is also a CFP Board Ambassador volunteer and teaches financial literacy at Knoxville Community College pro bono. More applause. I sat down. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline. I'd done it. The panel ended at 11:45 a.m. People stood, gathered their things, filed out. 11 people approached me with business cards, other advisors, conference organizers, someone from a financial planning software company. I shook hands. I exchanged cards. I smiled. And then I saw him. My father. Standing at the end of the aisle, 20 feet away. Caroline was behind him, her face unreadable. I excused myself from the conversation and walked toward the side exit. I wasn't running, I was choosing my terms, but he followed me. I was in the hallway near the exhibit hall entrance when I heard his voice. Lauren. I stopped, turned around. My father stood 15 feet away. Caroline was with him, her arms crossed. I didn't know you were here, he said. I waited. I didn't fill the silence. He took a step closer. The panel. The presentation. I had no idea you were doing this. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I said. My voice was calm, steady. He blinked. But CFP? $18.5 million? How did I do it? I interrupted. I did it because I had to. You called me your burden. You refused to help me. So I left. I moved to Knoxville, and I built this from nothing. Caroline stepped forward. Lauren, Dad didn't mean. I held up a hand. Caroline, you don't get to rewrite history. You stood there at that dinner 20 months ago and smiled when he called me a burden. You didn't say a word. Her face flushed. She looked down. My father's jaw tightened. I was wrong to say that. You were wrong about a lot of things, I said. You told me I was settling. You told me insurance sales wasn't a real profession. You told me I'd never amount to anything because I dropped out of pre-med. I took a step closer. But I'm not in insurance sales anymore. I'm a fiduciary financial planner. My clients trust me with their life savings, their retirement, their kids' college funds. Last quarter, I helped a widow avoid a $68,000 tax mistake. What I do matters. He opened his mouth, closed it. You measured my worth by your standards, I continued. Doctor or nothing, high salary or failure. But I don't measure success that way anymore. A man in a suit, name tag reading Stephen Hughes Merrill Lynch, walked past, then stopped. Mr. Winters? He said, looking at my father. Gerald turned. Yes? Stephen gestured to me. Your daughter is impressive. My firm tried to recruit her last month. She's built something remarkable. My father stared at him. Stephen nodded at me. Great panel, Lauren. If you ever want to talk about opportunities, give me a call. He handed me his card and walked away. The hallway felt smaller suddenly. Caroline tried again. Lauren, can we just… No, I said. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not today. I looked at my father. I didn't come to this conference to reconnect with you. I came because my work earned me a spot on that stage. You two are background noise. His face paled. I have a client meeting at 2 p.m., I said. A potential $520,000 rollover case. I need to prepare. I turned and started walking. Lauren, my father called. I didn't turn around. Behind me, I heard Caroline say quietly, Dad, I think she's actually happy. I kept walking. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back. February. 3 months after the conference. I was sitting in my new home office, not my studio apartment anymore, but a 3-bedroom house in the Knoxville suburbs. I'd closed on it March 15th. Purchase price, $285,000. Down payment, $10,000, FHA loan. My client base had grown to 156. Assets under management, $22.3 million. My projected income for year 3, $145,000. I was making more than my sister, more than my father probably expected I'd ever earn. But the number didn't matter as much as I thought it would. One evening in late February, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I saw the video of your conference panel online. Someone posted it on LinkedIn. I'm so proud of you. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. Thank you. I'm proud of me too. She responded immediately. Can we have coffee sometime, just us? I thought about it. Then, maybe. I'll let you know. I wasn't ready yet. But maybe someday. My father sent 4 emails over 3 months. I didn't open them. They sat in my inbox, unread, like ghosts I wasn't ready to face. Caroline sent a text in March. Can we talk? I responded. Not yet, maybe someday. She didn't push. I threw myself into my practice. I hired an associate advisor in April, a recent CFP registered graduate named Ryan, 26 years old, hungry to learn. I hired a client service associate in May, a woman named Angela who handled scheduling and paperwork. I wasn't alone anymore. I was building a team. In June, I spoke at 12 events, Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce meetings, a financial literacy workshop at the University of Tennessee. I took on 8 pro bono clients, single mothers who needed help but couldn't afford a financial planner. One of them, a woman named Jessica with 2 kids, sent me a thank you card in July. You helped me save $4,000 for my daughter's college fund. I never thought I could do that. Thank you for believing in me. I put the card on my desk, next to my CFP registered plaque, next to the photo of me on stage at the FPA conference. These were the things that mattered. In August, I got an email from Edward Jones Corporate. Congratulations, Lauren. You've been selected as a Goodnight Award finalist, top 25 advisors nationwide. The award ceremony will be held in St. Louis in October. I didn't win the top honor, but top 25 out of 19,000 advisors? I'd take it. By October, I had 43 5-star Google reviews. My favorite was from Mrs. Dolores King, my first Knoxville client. Lauren helped me through the worst time of my life. She's patient, kind, and brilliant. I trust her with everything. I read it on a bad day in November when I was doubting myself. It reminded me why I started. People asked me sometimes, other advisors, clients who knew bits of my story, have you reconciled with your father? The answer was always the same. Not yet. Maybe someday. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't holding my breath for him to admit he was wrong. I didn't need it anymore. I'm 34 years old now. 2 years since I stood on that stage in Nashville. 2 years since I walked away from my father in a convention center hallway. My practice manages $31 million in assets. I have a team of 3, Ryan, Angela, and a new associate I hired in January. I'm speaking at 15 events this year. I've been featured in 2 financial planning publications. Last month, a couple I've worked with for 3 years retired. 3 years earlier than they thought they could, because of the planning we did together. They cried when they told me. I cried too. My father and I exchange holiday cards now. Nothing more. The cards are polite, surface level. Hope you're well, Dad. I send them back. Thanks, you too. Lauren. Caroline and I have coffee once a quarter. It's awkward. We talk about work, the weather, neutral things. We're rebuilding, slowly. She apologized last year. Really apologized. Not the half-hearted kind. I accepted it. Forgiveness is a process. But I don't need her the way I used to. I don't need any of them. Someone asked me last week, a young advisor, 25 years old, struggling with her own family's expectations. How did you do it? How did you walk away and build this? I thought about it for a long time. I stopped living in their story, I said. I started writing my own. She nodded, but I don't think she understood yet. Not really. She will, though. When she's ready. This morning, I met with a new client, a woman, 30 years old, recently divorced. She came in with $12,000 in savings and a mountain of fear. I don't know if I can do this, she said. Starting over. Being on my own. I looked at her across my desk. I saw myself 4 years ago, sitting in a parking lot at midnight, wondering if I'd made the right choice. You can, I said. I promise you, you can. We spent 2 hours building a plan. By the time she left, she was smiling. Tonight, I'm sitting in my home office. It's 9 p.m. The house is quiet. My team went home hours ago. I have a glass of water on my desk. I stopped buying wine. I don't need it anymore. I look at the wall. My CFP plaque. The Good Night Award finalist certificate. A photo of me speaking at a chamber event. A thank you card from a client whose son graduated college debt-free because of our planning. These are my trophies. Not approval, not reconciliation, not my father's pride. Just proof that I showed up, that I did the work, that I built something real. My father called me a burden. He was wrong. I was never his burden. I was my own becoming, and that's the only weight I'll carry now. If you're reading this and you've ever been called a burden, a disappointment, a quitter, know this: their words are not your truth. Your life is not their story to write. You get to decide who you become, and when you do, make sure it's for you, not for them.